Hi everyone, I'm Wendy, and today I'm showing you 4 smoothie alternatives to your typical green smoothie. Now, I love a good green smoothie, but sometimes I like to change it up and get a variety of different vegetables into my smoothies. So today, cabbage and cauliflower are the stars of the show. These smoothies will be best when made in a high-powered blender, but any blender will do. And I'll have the written recipes linked in the details below the video. So let me show you how to make them. First is my cherry vanilla smoothie, which has red cabbage as a base. I'm adding 7 ounces of red cabbage that I've roughly chopped. And I like to weigh out the ingredients since fruits and veggies don't neatly fit into measuring cups, but the exact amounts are flexible. Next is about 3.5 ounces of frozen banana, then 3.5 ounces of frozen cherries, followed by half a teaspoon of pure vanilla bean powder. And I highly recommend using vanilla bean powder rather than extract because the flavor is far superior. For the liquid, I do a combination of plant-based milk and water, but you could do all water or all plant milk or any combination you prefer. This is a cup of almond milk and 3/4 of a cup of water. Once the lid is secured, I blend this for about 20 to 30 seconds until smooth. You may need to blend for a little longer time if you don't have a high-powered blender. And if you're not used to cabbage smoothies, you may want to adjust the ratio of cabbage to fruit. I like to do about a 50-50 split by weight, but you could reduce the amount of cabbage and bump up the amount of fruit as needed until your palate adjusts. Your taste buds tend to crave what you're used to eating, so over time you can shift it to enjoy more veggies. I personally have come to love my cabbage smoothies even more than my green smoothies. Once it's blended, this is ready to enjoy, and I usually drink this entire smoothie for breakfast, but it could be enough for 2 smoothies depending on your preferred portion sizes. Next is my raspberry mango banana smoothie. Long before I was putting vegetables in my smoothies, I loved making one with just raspberry and mango. It was one of my favorite combos, but as my eating pattern has shifted, I've added in some veggies. For this one, I start with a base of 7 ounces of cauliflower. Then I have about 2.5 ounces of frozen raspberry. The raspberry does make this smoothie a little bit tart, so if you're not a fan of that sweet-sour kind of flavor, I would recommend trying strawberries instead. Then I add 2.5 ounces of frozen mango and about 2 ounces of frozen banana. Again, for the liquid, I did a combo of milk and water, this time using 1 cup of cashew milk and 3/4 of a cup of water. Then I blended this again for about 20 to 30 seconds until it's perfectly smooth. As with the cabbage smoothie, if you're not used to using cauliflower, you can adjust the amounts. Please use these recipes as guides to give you ideas, but switch up the ingredients to use the fruits and veggies you love, such as swapping the raspberries for strawberries. Even though they're a little tart, I love the vibrant color the raspberries give this smoothie. And if you go with the strawberries, it'll be sweeter but with a more subtle pink tint. Moving right along, I'm calling this next one a loaded veggie smoothie. It's basically a salad smoothie, and I have another video where I talk about salad smoothies, but basically it's just a bunch of salad veggies that you throw into the blender to make into a smoothie instead. I mentioned this smoothie in my last What I Eat in a Day video, but I didn't have the recipe then, so here it is now. It starts with 4 ounces of green cabbage, 1 large carrot, 1 rib of celery. Next is about a 3-inch piece of English cucumber, about half of 1 bell pepper. I'm using red today, but I've also tried it with orange and yellow. 1 small ripe tomato, about 1 chopped and frozen apple for a little bit of sweetness, about a tablespoon of lemon juice, and 1 3/4 of a cup of water. By this point, you know the drill. Blend it in a high-speed blender for about 20 to 30 seconds, or longer in a regular blender until everything is nice and smooth. I love the bright orange color of this one, and when I first made it, I was really just trying to eat extra veggies that day and use up whatever I had in the fridge. It ended up tasting better than I thought it would. I find these vegetable smoothies to be really refreshing. And as one person commented when I showed this one before, it's almost kind of like a V8 type drink, but much fresher. Last but not least is my new favorite smoothie, a vanilla cabbage smoothie. It's the age-old debate, chocolate versus vanilla. Let me know in the comments if you're on team chocolate shake or team vanilla shake. Although I like both, I've always favored vanilla. This one starts with 7 ounces of green cabbage and 7 ounces of frozen banana. Next is 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And again, using vanilla bean powder makes all the difference. I don't think this smoothie would be as good if you use extract, so I highly recommend whole vanilla bean powder or vanilla beans scraped from the pod to get the very best flavor. Then I'm using 1 cup of plant milk and 3/4 cup of water. If you want to make this one extra creamy, feel free to use all plant milk instead of the water-milk combo. Of course, this won't taste the same as a real vanilla milkshake, but as someone who has avoided processed sugar and dairy for over 6 years now, this cabbage vanilla smoothie hits the spot. As with the other smoothies, feel free to cut back on the amount of cabbage until your palate adjusts. And like I said, I've always favored vanilla over chocolate, but if you're on team chocolate, have no fear. You can check out my other smoothie video where I shared my Wendy's chocolate frosty smoothie, which is one of my other all-time favorite smoothies. I hope you've enjoyed all of these smoothie ideas to help you incorporate more vegetables into your diet. Hit the thumbs up if you've been looking for a change from your old standby green smoothie, and let me know in the comments which of these recipes you might want to try first. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.